Hi, I guess if you clicked on this video, I have a view, so thank you for that. Before I milk you for all that you're worth with such a clickbaity title, I just want to give you the answer, and the short answer is that I feel as though the journey is the reward more than the outcome, or more than the views or the likes or the comments.
Okay, yes, guys, the irony is not lost on me. The entire premise of this video is begging for views, and now I'm saying, I don't even care. Your girl wants to get monetized, okay? Spare me that little bit of delusion because this is the only way that you get seen in 2026, so.
Most people have been conditioned to believe you need a witness in order for an action, for a piece of art, for a new hobby to be worth something. For ages, I was just so concerned with this idea that you needed to have a specific metric or KPI. I've wasted hours and hours doing something, making it 10 times harder for myself, because as I'm doing that said thing, I'm like, is this what I should be doing? Is this going to give me a better return on investment? Is this going to create happiness and efficiency for me in my life? Is this going to move me to where my goals are? In the back of my head, I'm literally fighting voices just saying, like, you should be doing a different hobby. This is pointless. And sometimes I'd even externalize that decision. I'm going to like ChatGPT and I'm asking them, what should I do for a day? Which is crazy. You don't need a witness or a like or a comment or a view. You need to be finding ways to make things that are for you and only you in order to make that post, make that piece of art, write that song, whatever it might be. If you're someone that, is thinking about starting a YouTube channel or a new hobby and you're unsure about like whether you should keep investing and keep going into something, I have a couple of helpful tips that I think will be super useful for people who are in that same kind of rut or grind and are not quite seeing the results that they want.
Okay, here we go. First things first, this is what you are expecting the journey to be like, and this is the reality, okay? Progress is not linear. So on your worst days, you have to be reminding yourself
you have made progress, and it might not seem like that right now just because the progress is not obvious. You are not a good objective observer of how much you have changed. I can tell you that for free because the amount of times that I have been stuck revisiting the same issue in my journal for the like 100th time, feeling so annoyed with myself, so grumpy, that I still haven't changed. There still hasn't been enough growth. And then I'll speak to a friend or my partner and they'll remind me of a way I used to be like 3 months ago, 3 weeks ago even. And I'm like, whoa, like I can't believe how much I've actually changed. We're not good objective observers. We're terrible at recognizing in ourselves. Oftentimes it's very practical. It's literally that you just don't know what is stopping you. You aren't aware of the triggers of distraction inside yourself. If you don't have some kind of journal or reflection practice or meditation practice, you're not going to have an idea of the ways in which you've grown. Bring yourself into awareness of yourself and the patterns that you keep repeating. Otherwise, you will never break those same patterns. You will never push yourself beyond what you say you want to do. Nobody's going to hold you to a specific standard except yourself, and nobody is going to push you except yourself.
Okay, great. That's lesson 1 done. Buy a journal, look back on progress to keep you motivated, and become so aware of yourself that you can no longer make any excuses. Time to go publish that new book and launch your new EP, right? Yeah, not quite. If you've done all this and it's still not working, then you are in what I like to call the way too much self-awareness that you never really get over the finish line of any project trap, and you are in desperate need of lesson 2.
Self-doubt is honestly where ideas go to die. The minute you start to be horrible to yourself, be negative, be nasty in your own brain, that is not conducive to the creative process. Doubt is a productivity drain. It's so much time that you are wasting every single day living in your head, questioning what you're doing, why you're doing it, what people are going to think. As I make this video, as I'm thinking about the next word to say, I'm thinking about what is going to be the most valuable words to roll off the top of my tongue, which I hate. It's such a cage, a complete and utter violation of what should be a beautiful, beautiful process. There is nothing more to say than that, other than you will not create if you are having to get over yourself as well as get over what the potential response to your art could be. The concept of worth is completely subjective, completely cultural, completely societal, completely subjective to how you feel, how you've been made to feel, how other people say you should feel about it. You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to love yourself. You've got to keep pushing yourself.
Okay, hi, it's me again. Since I know this is probably the thing that people struggle with the most, I'm going to give you 3 options. A is the slightly pessimistic anti-vision route.
Sometimes the fear of living with regret for the rest of your life is enough to remind you to keep going. You get to a certain age and you realize, like, is this it? Is this what it's going to be? This is why sometimes people talk about this idea of having an anti-vision, how you don't want to end up. For me, the big one is to be on my deathbed thinking that that was it. Like, that was it. That was the game. That was the time I was given. And I wasted it. Like, I literally wasted it. The cost of staying static is severe. It is severe. It is a wasted life. It is wasted potential, which I guess is either really terrifying or kind of the whole point.
Okay, so you get the idea. A little bit pessimistic, a little bit depressing, and sometimes on your worst days, not the best approach. B is the slightly more positive, but still kind of fluffy, cheering you on and saying that you have to have faith route.
You've got to believe that there is growth and change that can come from you. And it just begins with one small, tiny action. Something every single day that is 1% better than I was yesterday. Fuck it, not even 1%, okay? Like 0.5%, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1. Just better. For me right now, just doing one thing every single day that gets me closer to posting a video. And that is it. And I know that's not going to be easy, especially if you're someone that has felt stuck in the same loop and the same patterns over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That is just the lesson and the journey that you have to go through in order to finally break the pattern and move on.
Okay, amazing. Slightly better than option B, but it doesn't really account for one thing, and that is how socially conditioned you have been for an external reward to get you started on something. And C is the thing that I think has actually been the most productive for me, and that is lesson 3.
It's actually more conducive to creating art, to just continue to fall in love with the process itself. Research in the scientific literature says that when we get rewarded for things, we actually can sometimes lose our interest even harder, even when that reward is eventually stopped. I'm currently reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. Some absolute bangers in here, but one of the biggest ones it's got is that the job of an artist, okay, but we don't have to be an artist to appreciate this bit of advice. You just have to be wanting to create or make something new, anything. But the job of an artist is to make the art, nothing more. That's it. Once you press upload, once you craft that song, once you write that post, you are done. That was all that you needed to do, and you don't have control over how it lands in the universe. Not only can you not control how people are going to respond to your art or the things that you make and put out into this world, or yourself and the way that you express yourself, you can't control the outcome of said art. You have a right to your labor, but never the fruits of it. Be willing to let your art be free. The purpose of the art itself was the act of creating it and nothing more for you. So instead of thinking, is this going to be received well? Start telling yourself, is this work that I'm proud of? Is this good work? Is this something that holds up to the standards that I want to hold myself to? Am I doing this for the reward, or am I doing this because I want to change and I want to become a better person and I want to grow? Perfectionism is this kind of curse, and I truly believe that obsession is the act that will set you free. The more you get obsessed with the work, with the creation, with the process, the more you will be so convinced that you don't need any other external reward.
Okay, speaking of reward, and I know you've heard this all before and you probably don't want to hear it again, but
Get off social media. It's not for you. Like, you need to get off it. The minute you start opening yourself up to seeing images, videos, conversations about opinions and judgments every single day, like, of course you're going to feel like whatever you make and put out into the universe is going to get the same response. That response is a culture that is just so obsessed with the outcome and the result more than the process itself. The act of recording history, any retelling of anything in pop culture, is to cut and narrate it in order to condense it into its greatest parts. You can't tell everything. You can't tell every perspective. You can't tell every opinion. That means that You are always going to be creating and shaping what is desirable by condensed outcomes rather than the entire process or the entire journey. Best demonstrated by any person ever who's gone on to any artist profile, spent time out of their day saying, I could have made this. Personally, I don't know what you're doing walking around with a developed frontal lobe doing that. Teenager behavior at the very, very latest. Ultimately, social media is a bit of a cesspool for that kind of thing. I have been off Instagram for over a year now, complete social detox. I never really had TikTok as well to begin with, thank God. I knew I was cooked if I even tried to attempt being on that. And it has done absolute wonders. If you are someone that really struggles with the perfectionism or what people are going to think about something, it is not for you. Once you do remove that distraction, you are left with too much time on your hands. You can do those extra hobbies, or you can do that extra thing, or just make it a business, make it like work, log in on your desktop or have a social media scheduling app. Make it like work so that you can have some kind of emotional boundary from it, right? We create obvious distinctions between being emotionally invested in things when we're in meetings and when we're in work. Like, it's important to not enmesh the two. I spent so much of my life thinking that how I lived my life really had an impact on anyone, which I guess is kind of depressing and lonely if you are a pessimist. But if you're an optimist, it's actually very exciting. I could go walk, scream to the rooftops, and people, when they look, they're not oftentimes making a judgment. They are just observing for the sake of observation. They're just having a look and being like, what's going on? What's happening? Learning that there's so many things that are outside of my control in this life, and the response to what I make and what I create is one of them, has truly been the most emotionally freeing lesson I think I could have ever possibly learned. Nobody liking what you made or getting a hate comment, how you react to it is really the only thing that you have control over. It is the entire construct. And once you let go of this construct that any of those things matters, the more you don't care, the more you just keep creating. This is why philosophers say that Sisyphus could have been happy. Like, he could have been happy pushing that boulder up the hill for an eternity, because it was so pointless. It was so ridiculous. There was no possible completion. The entire reward structure didn't even exist. So he could just be happy. Do that for yourself in your head when it comes to the things that you create. There is no reward feedback. There's none. There's no caring about that. And then you're just free to make more art. An actual practical tip that's helped me here is to build a bit of a ledger privately of things that I've achieved rather than necessarily like the results of the outcomes.
Okay, if you are still watching, which according to my YouTube analytics should be exactly 0 of you, congrats! You should have everything you need in order to keep moving forward with making things for you and only for you. There's really only one last lesson that I want to leave you with.
I'm really trying in moments where I find myself so frustrated, so annoyed, so angry at myself for no fucking reason, to realize that these are the moments in which my life is being made. These are the moments, the small, tiny moments, staying up late to edit a video or to write a song, waking up early to shoot a video, or to learn how to edit a short for the first time. Like, those are the moments that I'm going to look back in 3, 4, 5 years and be like, what the hell? Like, where did that time go? Like, that's just gone. I always get reminded of this when I see famous artists or famous writers come back to a specific house or place or time that they grew up in, and they're like so unbelievably taken aback by how much their life has changed. This journey is meant for me. Whether you decide to make a life that is the one that you want is entirely up to you, and not up to the response of the things that you do and the actions that you do. That kind of sums up the biggest things that have made an impact in my life. Thank you if you've made it this far. You've got this. You can do this. It doesn't take anything more than getting yourself up out of bed, challenging your own emotions, challenging your own internal triggers. Once you start, and you exercise the mental muscle of pushing through a distraction, you will build the kind of momentum needed in order to keep posting or keep making music or keep creating art or try that new hobby or learn that new skill.